He told the others when he was in jail with them, he said, after I surrendered, he said, and they were taking me away, he said, I heard 2 more shots up the back.
Schroeder's autopsy report also indicated that there were 2 entry wounds behind his right ear, only 2 inches apart. The bullets passed through this blue stocking cap. However, the stocking cap was not examined during the autopsy, nor was any forensic testing conducted before Schroeder's relatives had his body cremated.
They said Mike ambushed them. There were 17 of them as against him, and they were dressed up as trees. They've got a lot to answer for.
After the initial raid happened on February 28th, we got several phone calls in from the ATF that said if they saw any movement inside the building, hands in front of the windows, if people were standing in front of the windows, that they felt that it was a threatening situation and that they would shoot us.
On March the 1st, the FBI begins negotiations with the Davidians. Heavy military equipment is brought in, and a stalemate begins that will last 51 days. Several adults and children leave Mount Carmel and are transferred to ATF custody. The children are turned over to Texas Social Services.
We have 21 children that have been released to our care thus far. The youngest of those children is 5 months old, and the oldest one is a 12-year-old. The children appear to be smart and well-educated, very sharp children. They seem to have been very well cared for.
In early March, Koresh had promised to come out. But at the last minute, he believed that God had told him to stay in, to wait.
During the siege, David Koresh believed that the Nahum prophecy was being fulfilled, in which we believe, spiritually speaking, it's talking about the one world order. David Koresh believed that he was going to be the one that initiates the downfall of this one or new world order, the fall of Babylon the Great, by sacrificing himself and this denomination.
The description of Nineveh in the book of Nahum, David likened to the description of this country, being old, stagnant in its ways. And the battle that takes place talks about these chariots and shields being bloodied and what's not. He likened that battle to what took place on February 28.
To read Nahum or Habakkuk, and you're in it, you're experiencing it. It all fits together. It's all a conglomerate of different prophecies by different men at different times talking about a war with Babylon, a great war.
These tanks are for solely defensive purposes, and they will not be armed. We have no plans to assault the compound.
2,000 years ago, hey, who believed in Christ's doctrine? A man had to die, because no one would believe what he had to say.
So is there a lesson to be learned by looking back at the history of the prophets that came contrary to what people looked for?
They killed Isaiah, they killed Hosea, they killed Zechariah, and Jesus came to say in Matthew 23 to the Jews, "Woe unto you that believe not all the prophets have spoken." So, you know, today it's all together just totally disregarded. Just another religious fanatic, just another religious group.
Ever since the rise of television, there's been a merger of news and entertainment. monster stories and fairy stories are good, simple entertainment.
And here you have media from all over the world is flown in and expected by their home offices all around the world to produce a story every day. I mean, the government could have just issued a press release every day, and the media would have read it word for word over the air. I mean, that's how desperate it was.
What the public was seeing and hearing on TV during the siege demonized the people in that church. The ones that I met and knew, the survivors, were people that were basically just trying to get to heaven.
The world can hate us, the world can laugh at us and taunt us all they want. The world's had 2,000 years to learn this book, and there have been people all up until now who've been interested in it. Now people don't want the Bible anymore. People don't seem to want to read the Bible, or, they want to go to church and just be saved, And that's great if that's how faith works, but if God has a will, and it is written in that book, His Spirit's written in the book through all the prophets, then there's a knowledge He wants us to know. And the knowledge is here and it's being revealed, and that's all I can say.
By March 24th, 25 children under the age of 15 and approximately 54 adults remain inside the church compound as Steve Schneider negotiates with the FBI.
Let's reflect on this for a minute. Why were they there in the first instance?
A good question.
They were there to serve and execute an arrest and search warrant.
They never said anything, not by a bullhorn, not by a knock at the door, not by any reason. Not by any reason. Even before they got, just about the time they got to the porch, is when David opened the door and poked his head out.
What we want to do and what we will do when the time is right is we will process the crime scene there. You know that. We know that.
That wouldn't be so bad. The biggest issue that I've raised with you, Dick, is not that you would be here even, or that the Texas Rangers, but I'm adamant about this part that the ATF is playing. The ones that came to this place, and when I've heard on the press conference the outright lies, and to think that that agency would be involved in any aspect of this from here on out blows my mind that would even be allowed in America.
Well, Steve, let's face it, there are some things that we will deal with when the time is right.
No, you start dealing with it now so we can come out. I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons I have not been able to hurdle talking to the people, getting them to come out, Dick.
Okay, Steve, why don't you and your family come out and then you handle these issues, okay? Why don't we do that?
How am I going to handle them when I'll be shackled for hands and feet and throwing the key will be thrown away? Who's going to hear me? They're after blood. Come on, Dick.
They put me in the jail in Waco here. After I'd been there a short period of time, they brought me in and a judge came and told me what I was being charged for. And he said, you're being charged for murder, conspiracy to murder. He said, it'll be 100 years, 75, or 50.
They were assuring us that we would be cared for in a professional manner. Then you turn around and you've got people that are flipping you the finger over top of the tanks. They're dropping their drawers and baring their butts. And these are the type of people that you're supposed to go out to.
I said I had heard that you guys had wrote on some of the windows there at Mount Carmel that we see you, David, etc. And I asked the agent, was this true? And he said, yeah, it's true. And I said, aren't you guys concerned about when this is over, that the news media might see this and think it a little antagonistic on your part? He just looked at me and walked away.
Everything flip-flopped from day to day. You went through a feeling of being real hopeful.